Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here, and Vice Rhino over there. Ooh, Infinity Vice Rhinos. Let's boop. Yeah, so Cirrus is on his way. He's just in the middle of taking a massive shit right now. So, yeah, he will be here at some point in the not too distant future. At least that's what I assume he's doing because, I don't know. He said his stomach is giving him grief and he's not here yet. So I assume that it's massive shit related. So that's a great way to kick off a stream. How about that? So yeah, it's gonna be a lonely stream at the moment. It's just, I don't know what to do when I'm alone anymore. All by myself. My kids aren't in bed. Go to bed, whoever you are. I don't know which kid that was, but someone was thunking around. So yeah, Scotch update. It's been a while since I've had Scotch on stream, but I decided that this time I would. This is a new one. Oh, actually. Yes, I have a cute animal I can share with you. So, here we go. We got Puddles. She doesn't like sitting on my lap when I'm working though. So she's not going to stay. She's already trying to leave. Hi. Naramda puts tips $4.21 says, did you see that thing where Cirrus seemed to misdefine peer review as including replication? No, I'm unaware of that. I don't watch all of Cirrus's stuff. Like half of Cirrus's stuff is my stuff too. So like, but yeah, no, I do watch some of Cirrus's stuff. And, you know, he's streaming all the time, so it's not like half of his stuff is my stuff. Anyway, the Scotch I'm drinking is Aberlour, Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey, double cask, 12-year-old. It's nice. I like it. I found it. We went away for the weekend. We were up in Markdale, and yeah, found it in the LCBO up there, which is the liquor store, and decided to try it because it's like, I like a 12-year-old Scotch, but those are all the expensive ones, and this was a fairly cheaper one, and it's close to Macallan's, which is about twice the price of this one. Like it is different, but it's close enough that like for half the price, sure, I'll take it. Oh, did you drop your treat, Puddles? Did you drop your treat? She dropped her treat. Oh, hashtag very minor drama. I don't know. Did we do a peer-reviewed study on uwu and get that replicated? I know that's right up his alley. Stop dropping your treat. Yeah, so fun Scotch time. Just anyway, there's no news articles tonight because I actually had a bit of a crazy week. Part of that is now I know he's probably going to be watching this. Oh, here's Cirrus. Good timing. There's a Cirrus. Hi.
This is what happens when your stomach is on milk.
On milk? Are you lactose intolerant?
Very.
So it would now be a bad time to tell you that I've had some of my toes amputated?
Did you have your toes amputated today?
No, I didn't have my toes amputated today, but you are lactose intolerant?
I think I might hate you. I'm leaving.
If it makes you feel better, my partner is sitting right beside me working on her schoolwork, and she just kind of did a face palm and shook her head and is very,
No.
very, very much Similar reaction.
That doesn't make it better. That doesn't make it better at all. Nothing you do can make this better.
Yes, it can.
No.
Anyway, I was just about to talk about why I'm behind on my work today.
Oh.
I wasn't going to say his name because I don't know if his name is publicly known. Your editor?
Oh, Raj.
Yeah, okay. So Raj. So Raj, skip forward 15 seconds. I know you're going to watch this because you still edit Cirrus's stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to... No, I'm not... So yeah, what happened was I had decided to hire an editor, and part of the decision was like, I booked an Airbnb ages ago and was just like, you know, I got back from a cruise that my dad took me on, which, you know, thanks Dad, but I don't really like cruises. But I had COVID right when I got back from that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the week after I had COVID, my partner was sick with something, and we always had kids everywhere, all over us, all the time. And like never any break from the kids. So it's like, you know what, I'm booking, like her kids are in Florida this week. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to message my dad, see if he could look after my kids that week. And, yeah, so we got rid of them. I booked an Airbnb. We went up to Markdale, and I was like, okay, as part of this, in order to like not be behind on my work, I'm going to hire an editor. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while now anyway. And and you recommended Raj, so I hired Raj after we had a brief chat. And then his computer crashed, and he lost all the information that I guess he had gotten a fair bit into my video, and then the whole thing just got wiped out.
Yeah, because he doesn't use Adobe as an editor thing. So I know like Adobe does the autosave whenever things are about to go wonky. But since he doesn't use Adobe, he doesn't have an autosave for it.
Adobe doesn't do autosave when things are going wonky. It doesn't autosave.
It just does it all the time.
Yeah, if you set it up. I learned that you need to set it up the hard way.
Oh.
Now, if Adobe's problem is that you ran out of RAM, it does give you a bit of warning for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. But yeah, so I hired him. His computer crashed. He lost the project files. And on top of that, I guess he had an assistant who was helping him edit, and his assistant quit. So like while I'm on my weekend away, I get the phone call from him and like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get your stuff done. And actually, because my assistant quit, I'm not going to be able to do any of your stuff. So I'm like, I understand. I'm not saying bad things about Raj here.
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort that he put in that ended up not accomplishing anything because he lost all his work. But like, because of that, I'm now like, I get back from this, what was supposed to be a relaxing weekend. It was a relaxing weekend. Got back from that. And now we're also, we're going to be renovating the house a bit. And so we had contractors doing quotes. And then I had an appointment in St. Catharines yesterday that I completely forgot about until yesterday. So it's like, it's been a week.
Yeah, it's been a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So how's things in your life?
Well, I am starting Subathon tomorrow, so today has been a lot of trying to get everything ready for that. Trying to get the house more cleaned up because, of course, when you're 24-hour streaming, the house is going to kind of get a little messy. You're always working, so you look at it and you're like, I'll take care of it when the Subathon's over. But the Subathon might be over in 20 days. So, you know, sometimes that may take a little bit. But I also have to build a chicken coop because my parents are getting rid of their chickens. And they were like, hey, do you want them? And I went, I like the idea of eggs that are cheap because eggs are not cheap right now. So sure, I'll take.
Is it cheap? Because you got to maintain and feed the chickens and stuff. Like that's an ongoing cost. Depends how many eggs they lay, I guess.
They lay about 6 to 7 a day.
Okay, like per chicken?
Not per chicken. No, so, that's like the
okay.
For the.
I was gonna say
that would be.
I was gonna say like that sounds like torture. Those poor things.
They wake up. Every hour of their life is constant misery. No,
just imagine being in labor every day, all day.
Jeez, no, nothing quite that bad. No, it's just that I went, okay, I'll go ahead and we'll take care of the chickens here. My roommate has experience taking care of the farm animals anyway, so we'll go and take the chickens here. But that means we have to make a chicken coop because we can't just pick up their barn and move it up here. No, it doesn't. Turns out the laws of physics don't really allow for that very easily. And I'm not Amish enough to raise a barn in a single day, so I'm kind of left with only the option of let's go ahead and take whatever scraps of wood we have and let's just see what we can build out of pallets and wire to make a chicken coop. Okay. So it's been
got people making fun of my per chicken.
6 or 7 per chicken. Every bird ever is Kazooie from Banjo-Kazooie. Every one.
Yeah. All right, so we got chickens. Chickens will eat table scraps and forage, so feeding them can be very cheap. Yeah, but like, is that what's good for them though? I would feel like if I had chickens, I would want them to eat like really, really well.
So what you want to do?
If I'm eating what's coming out of its butt, I want what's going into its mouth to be healthy.
So what we're going to be feeding them is a combination of mealworms as treats and chicken feed as food. But like a big thing of chicken feed only runs you about $6 or $7, which is about the cost of 2 dozen eggs here right now. Okay. And with how much they lay, like there's going to be more yield than what's going to be going into them, thankfully. But no, I'm not looking forward to dealing with building the coop itself. We've got a little shed that is not in good shape, but we were able to pull everything out of the shed, and then after pulling everything out of the shed, we could then start trying to put pallets and stuff down to create some semblance of a floor, because that shed has no floor. It's never had a reason to. Steve
Weber says, are your table scraps unhealthy? I mean, that depends on the table scraps, but often, yes. Yes, they are. You think I eat healthy? But also, like, my concern was more like, are they healthy for the chicken? Because, like, I have a dog that also loves table scraps, but, like, you can't feed the dog certain things. Like, sometimes chocolate falls off the table. Don't let the dog eat the chocolate. That's not good for her.
Nope. Or if you happen to have, if you just happen to have anything that is artificially sweetened, like sucralose is poisonous to dogs.
Yeah, anything with onions and garlic, those are poisonous to dogs.
Grapes.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots that she would just gobble up that is not good for her. And sometimes we, like, you know, between myself and my partner, we have 5 children, so we can't always keep an eye on, like, what is falling on the floor that the dog is eating. So there have been times when she has eaten something that has resulted in us having to, like, deep clean certain areas of the home as it runs through her.
Yep. If the dog runs with your table scraps, your dog will also have the runs.
Yes. Feed them leftover nuggets.
Pupper, do you want chicken nugget?
No. They're talking about your chickens.
Oh.
Because I assume they're talking about your chickens, judging by the I'm awful at the end, because Pupper would love chicken nuggets. Chicken, I don't think that would necessarily be good for them. It's like, isn't that how cows got hoof and mouth disease or whatever it is originally? Like, wasn't it a prion disease?
I actually don't know.
Being fed beef?
I don't know a whole lot about that, but I mean, if they were being fed beef, it would make sense for them to get a prion disease. I mean, humans do cannibalistic stuff. We get prion diseases.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I told the audience while you were taking your massive shit, I didn't do news items today because, I don't know, I didn't really have time. I mean, I guess I had a little bit of time, but, like, I also need sanity.
What is sanity?
I don't know anymore.
Worthless is what it is.
But yeah, the contractor we had doing the quote today seemed like a nice guy, but it was like, can you just shut up and measure the room? Like, I don't need Like he seems like he seems like the kind of guy that like he's not just going to go to the store and buy the things that you said you wanted at whatever price. He's like actually going to shop around to try to get a good price. Like that, he seemed like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But part of that was like he was constantly chatting with us about other jobs that he's doing and certain things that like the washroom in the basement. We're like, okay, well the toilet down there would be really nice to replace that, and you know, yeah, I want an elongated bowl toilet because they are way better. And that prompted like a 20-minute sidebar into the story of how he bought a toilet for himself that he never got around to installing in his old place, and now there's not room for it in the washroom in his new place, so would we like to buy that one at a steep discount from him? And it's like, I didn't need all that backstory, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the backstory so that you don't think that he stole it, I guess. Here's the reason this is in
you
my
know what
possession.
I would not be surprised if it was a fell off the truck situation, but like whatever, I did my due diligence. No, his business has been around Niagara for a while, and he's got a good reputation generally, so like I'm not terribly concerned that he's going to be installing stolen goods into my house. It's probably a true story.
God, wouldn't it be funny though?
Stolen toilet. What is this? An episode of Bob's Burgers?
Look, is it an episode of Bob's Burgers or is it an episode of Archer?
Stolen toilet is more Bob's Burgers.
It depends, considering that they are the same character.
I know, but I was thinking specifically of the episode where the whole plot was a stolen toilet that Jean found in the woods.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess if you have a specific example, then I'll go ahead and have to take it. I'm sure we can find a stolen toilet episode of The Simpsons and Family Guy too, and just round it all out.
I don't know about The Simpsons. Maybe the really recent stuff, but like anything up to about 2010, I'm pretty sure I've seen every episode, and I don't recall there being a toilet-based episode.
Kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. Missed opportunity.
Shitty situation.
Anyway, shall we do some tweets?
No.
Now, just for the record, guys, normally I give Cyrus the tweets in advance. This time he's going in dry. He doesn't know what's coming.
Man, what Rhino doesn't realize, he does not realize that I have never once looked at the tweets he sent me. I have gone in dry every time.
Why do I even bother preparing for things?
Like,
I'm just like, if I was going on someone else's stream to do this, what would I want? You're like, I would want early access to the tweets and the articles and everything so that I could read them so I could know what we're talking about.
So here's the thing with me. I am in a constant state of strapped for time. So I'm just like, do I have the time to read this? Not yet. That's fine. I'll manage.
Yeah, so John73 John says, there was that episode of The Simpsons where Homer took a big pile of sugar from the side of the road. I remember that one. That wasn't toilet-based. I do remember he...
Nose candy.
That was a good episode. I liked that episode. Bring on the Sorbo. Sorbo got in just under the wire in this one. There is one Sorbo tweet that like I saw as I was setting up. I was like, ooh, yeah, he just had to be in this episode, didn't he? Okay, the dog really wants off my lap now. There she goes. That's one of the things I'm not used to with dogs, that like the cat, when she wanted to leave, she would just leave. Whereas the dog, when she wants to leave, she doesn't. She just kind of like is awkward for a bit.
Yeah.
Until you get rid of her.
Dogs are like that.
Yeah.
They're very polite.
Is that what that is?
I mean, look, I like to think that my dogs are polite and considerate as they pile up into the bed with me and remind me just how allergic of them I am. I like to think they're kind and considerate.
So I'm actually... One of my concerns with Puddles is that we have trained her pretty well to not jump up on people. She does it. She still does it with like family, but like when she's meeting strangers, she doesn't jump on the strangers. But in her effort to exert the self-control in not jumping up on these people that she clearly wants to jump up on, she goes into a posture that looks very much like she's afraid of getting hit.
Oh.
So I am concerned that, like, at some point she's going to meet a stranger who is now like, you guys hit your dog. Look at this. That's not normal. And it's like, no, she's just like really excited and wants to jump up on you, but is like, that's her way of being self-restraint, as she gets into this like awkward looking position with her tail between her legs and everything. But it's like, she wants you to pet her.
Yeah. But I can see how that would immediately like make a couple people just kind of nervous. Like, hey, do you treat this animal well?
Yeah.
You're kind of acting a little sus.
Yeah, no, but she like, it's with friends and family. She doesn't do that. She just jumps up on us. I actually think I think she might have learned. So because we often don't have the treats handy. And so, like, when she jumps up, we'll tell her, like, nope, down, all paws, or something like that. And then when she gets down, we oh, good girl, and we give her pets as a reward. So we might have accidentally trained her that when she jumps up on us and then gets down when we say get down, that's when she gets the reward.
Oh.
Jehovah God says, can I get an uwu for $9.99? That's a super chat service. I think you got to do it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
No.
Why not?
Because on my stream it's $100.
I think I still have that notification set up where if somebody sends $50, you get to see the MAGA guy fall off his bike. So I don't know for sure if I still have that set up, but I'm pretty sure it's still set up. I didn't unset it up, so it's probably still set up. So if somebody wants to test that, I wouldn't complain.
You know, if somebody just wants to help the test, it's for science.
It's for science. Got to figure out whether or not I actually forgot to unset up the thing.
Yeah, it's not, it's not for money or personal gain. It's for science.
It's for money. Anyway, tweets. Kevin Sorbo. We're doing him first, apparently.
Oh, boy.
He says, aside from he was a big mean man, how can anyone disagree with the statement things were objectively better under Trump?
Which things? Like, that is
okay.
Ignoring the fact that Trump was a fucking fascist. Like,
so,
ignoring that.
So there is a smidgen of truth to the statement, in that a lot of the things that are now bad directly because of Trump had a lag, because of, like, they're bad now because of Supreme Court decisions, but the Supreme Court decisions didn't happen until after Trump was gone, but it was because of who he appointed to the Supreme Court that those decisions were bad.
Yeah, that's the, like, it's the same thing with economic decisions, right? Like, usually there's about a 2-year lag on the economy. So whenever a new president comes in and then, like, for the first 2 years the economy is just booming, it's doing so well, and you're like, yeah, new president fixed everything. Like, no, they inherited a bunch of economic decisions from the old president, and it's a really good thing that they did not just decide to screw over the economy as they were leaving office just in case their opponent inherited it. Like, that would be a galaxy-brained move that would screw over things for the American populace, but,
So you're talking about, like, all that stuff that Trump did just as he was leaving office, like all those executive orders that he signed on his way out the door?
Yeah, I'm not saying that, if you happen to be a particular type of person, you might do something like that.
Yeah,
but I am saying Trump is that guy.
Yeah, but also, like, you look at things like Trump said he would build the wall and get Mexico to pay for it. He built almost nothing, and Mexico paid for none of it. Whereas Biden actually did get Mexico to agree to as a border security thing that they paid for. So it's just like, it's kind of funny that Biden actually got Mexico to pay for border security, whereas Trump didn't even get the heightened border security.
No, because, I mean, you and I both know Trump is bluster. Like, that's the thing with Trump, is that he doesn't have to actually effectively do something. He just has to convince you that he's working on it.
Yeah.
His entire grift for almost every business that he has ever had has been fake it till you make it. It's the same thing Elon Musk did too. Like, both of them have done the exact same strategy. Talk big, talk big, talk big. Never deliver on your promises. Make a fan base.
Jehovah says we should get Mexico to pay for an uwu.
I mean, if if they want to do that, I'm just curious on how the taxes and tariffs are going to work on that. If there's
Oh,
maybe some side effect to that specific scenario I need to be cognizant of.
yeah. Jassa says, I regret my 2016 vote every day for not understanding the court. Damn 18-year-old me. You know what, Jassa? You learned and grew. That's the important thing.
Yep.
It's like, that's not a mistake you're going to make again.
You can't hold the decisions of yourself when you were just then hopping into adulthood. You can't hold those over yourself forever. Even decisions you make as an adult, like as an established adult, several years down the road, you can't. It's not healthy to hold themselves over you till the end of time.
Yeah, like I used to vote conservative, which that's Canadian version of Republican. I've been all over the political spectrum. But yeah, and then Nuram to put Sol says, remember when we just up and left the Kurds in Syria for no reason? Remember when we assassinated the Iranian general for no reason?
America, we stopped doing imperialism years ago. Trust us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think everybody who has ever said, and it's not just Kevin Sorbo, but everybody who's ever done the whole like, hey, Donald Trump was mean and that's the reason I don't like him. I don't know if that's even a properly made straw man, because like a straw man is a paper tiger exaggerated version of something that really happened. This is just entirely fabricated as far as I can tell, because I don't know if there was ever anybody whose biggest gripe with Trump was he's a big mean boy. I don't think that's ever been the case for really anybody, except maybe like
I
a
mean,
handful.
like, it depends what you mean by mean. Like, if you mean he has a penchant for sexually assaulting people,
I mean, okay,
yeah, that's
I'm
a pretty big
talking
complaint.
about I'm talking about the way that like so the Eric Trump Jr. like the way that he's always said it is, but at least we don't have mean tweets anymore. Like it's always been he was mean on Twitter is usually the way that argument is structured. So when I see it from Sorbo, who's in the same crowd, that's what I'm thinking about. Is like
Mm.
he said mean words, not the things he said when he said it was just locker room talk.
Or like when he mocked a disabled reporter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that was a pretty big thing. That should have ended his campaign right then and there.
No, all it did was push it. Because I don't remember if I've ever asked you this before, but have you seen The Boys?
No, I have not. You have asked me that before. I have not seen it.
Okay, there is a moment, or do you plan on seeing it or no?
So my partner and I actually have a spreadsheet of all the things that we plan on watching together that we want to, and like I set up this formula so like we could each give it a weighted score, and then it would average our scores together and like rearrange it so that like that's the order that we will watch the things in. And so far we have not made it through the first item on the list. So
Okay.
even if I intend to see it, it's going to the bottom of that list, and we haven't even made it through item number 1. So it will probably be years.
Okay,
And,
so
and
you'll
she says that's
forget-
how he stole my heart, because she's really into spreadsheets.
So you'll forget anything I tell you.
Yeah,
by
absolutely.
the time you plan on watching it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You've
So
probably
there
already
is
told me
a-
this, to be fair.
There is a moment. One of the main characters in the show, Homelander. Spoilers for people in the chat who haven't seen a show they should have seen ages ago. There's a character in the show, Homelander, he's the show's allegory for Superman. But the thing is that the premise of The Boys is that the superheroes exist in like the worst capitalist landscape possible. Like all superheroes are bought by one single company.
Sorry, I have to butt in. Schrodinger's cat says that's such a nerdy way to decide what to watch. It's like, yeah, that's
it
who I
worked.
am. And now
it worked.
and like this was something that I implemented when we were like had been dating for a month, and now we're like moving in together and stuff. So did something right.
Yeah. So because every single superhero is basically bought by a corporate entity and they're sponsored and so on and so forth, they have PR campaigns for their superheroes, and so they check the stats on the heroes, like, hey, who likes which heroes, who's responding to what bit of propaganda better. It's just, there's marketing firms that are constantly analyzing how the heroes are performing. there is a moment where everybody collectively decides that Homelander is a racist. And when that happens, when they finally decide that he's a racist and a bigot, his numbers finally start to plummet for a time. And then there is a single moment where he goes to a crowd of protesters, and one of the protesters throws a water bottle and it hits his kid. And the minute that happens, just barely even a thought, he looks at the protester and just kills him with heat vision. In front of all of the cameras, in front of like all of the media. And what should be in every other season of the show, what would have been the moment where, oh, this tanked his career. This is when he's gone. This is when Vought should have just terminated him. It does the opposite. It doubles his support. Turns out that the people who wanted to support him the most were the people who wanted that jackass, that bully, that person who was going to speak to their inner asshole. I think that's this. And granted, this was written after Trump had gotten into office. I'm fairly certain that was literally just them going, no, this is the thing that happened to Trump. Because Homelander's basically just superhero Trump. I'm going to be honest. He's written very much like the superhero Trump. So when that moment happens, it's the same thing as what you get with Trump there when he was making fun of, a person because of something that was not their fault, nothing they could control. It's the same thing. It should have tanked his career, but instead it just spoke to that terrible aspect of society that went, oh, he's just like me.
Yeah.
I have somebody who can speak now to me. And it shouldn't be that way, but I think that's what that scene in The Boys was really trying to speak to, and it did a good job because that's what we fucking saw in our own political system.
Okay. I promise I was paying attention to that, but yeah.
You were definitely not just spending that whole time repositioning me on your screen.
Did you see why I repositioned you?
You're trying to make it to where the whole here, let me make it.
There we go. There.
Now it's easy. Now you can't miss.
Now the hands are too small.
Hell,
I'm sorry.
that sounds like a skill issue to me.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Trump anyway, so small hands.
Small. You know what they say about men with small hands?
They're named Donald Trump.
They come from my family.
Anyway, so No Lie with Brian Taylor Cohen, not a twit. I actually recommend following him. He posts some good stuff. But anyway, the Republican Attorney General of Missouri has launched a new form to report transgender individuals and those who help them to the government. So yeah, they're reporting transgender care facilities or whatever to the government. Sure would be a shame if somebody had a stream with a link to that report form in the description and everybody just went there to report that the government is infringing upon people's rights to health care using that form and overwhelming them with reports that are not actually what they're looking for. But
malicious compliance.
Well, I mean, it is a concern about transgender care.
Yeah,
that's a legitimate concern.
People are not getting the right amount of care.
So go report it.
It's agitating seeing shit like that, especially after what's going.
Yeah, and in theory, you have to live in Missouri in order to submit the form, but
use a VPN.
Yeah, I don't think you even need to do that. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I don't. Just maliciously comply. And do what you feel is right here. I am not telling you what to do.
I'm perfectly fine saying what to do in a situation like this. Inconvenience the United States government as it is trying to strip away human rights.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
Rhino doesn't have to do right. It's not Rhino's fault. It's mine. I'll take it.
I mean, I'm hosting you on my channel, but whatever. That's one of the reasons I have. One of the reasons my live streaming channel is a different channel than my main channel is because I am more prone to accidentally saying things that might violate terms of services.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Like when I'm live, because like when I'm scripted, I can like I'll write something out and then I'll think about it and be like, that might be crossing a line, and then I can change it. But like when I'm live, once it's out, it's out. So, so yeah, that's one of the reasons I have a separate channel. But yeah, so there is a link to that in the description for the stream. I recommend that everybody go and maliciously comply with that form and tell them about your concerns about transgender care. And pretend like you're from Missouri, so it might actually impact something. I mean, don't fraudulently fill out government forms.
We're not saying fraudulently fill out forms. We're saying vaguely inconvenience the United States government as it tries to violate human rights. However,
but also they don't
do that.
But also they don't check to make sure that you actually are a Missouri resident. Like, don't commit fraud, but they're not checking. Do with that information what you will.
There was a post. I don't want to say who the post was from, but it was a trans content creator who I do have respect for, and they just said, it's really weird that as the United States is spending a good bit of its time trying to strip away my rights, I have to fill out tax forms to let them have a certain amount of my money so that they can do that better.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels really gross, and I'm like, I feel you there. Taxes hurt this year, and I get it. I don't like knowing, especially because I'm in Georgia. Like, I'm in District 14. I know where that money's going. I don't like it.
We got some District 14 shit to talk about later.
Oh my God, I like how whenever I say that, it sounds like I'm talking about some Hunger Games shit. But I mean, if you think about Marjorie, it kind of is.
Did you see the clip of her getting cut off in the subcommittee for calling the guy a liar?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, so I'm not sure what the interview was, because it was one of those like taken out of context clips that was like meant to dunk on her. It wasn't meant to give context. But yeah, so she was grilling the guy about something about China poisoning the water supply or some random shit like that. And when he said that, no, we are doing things to protect against that, she just, no, you are a liar. And then she got cut off. And they like took a, I guess they took a recess or something. Like there was a motion to strike what she said from the record, and to not just strike it from the record, but to drop it or take it down from the record, which I guess the difference between strike it and take it down is that take it down also includes she has now lost all of her time and can no longer talk or ask questions. And so like she basically lost all of her opportunity to do anything else at that committee meeting because she called this guy a liar, and they actually like held her to account for that. Yeah, and it was very satisfying to watch.
I wish
Schrodinger's cat says, can confirm you can submit the form with literally anything in the name and address fields.
Well,
so do with that information what you will. I'm not telling you to commit fraud. Moving on.
I don't like that I can't just be like, democracy good, we'll fix it eventually. Like, some people don't have eventually as time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because like this whole Roe versus Wade thing, like when they repealed Roe versus Wade, that energized a lot of Gen Z, and I refuse to call them Gen Z because I'm Canadian. It's Gen Z.
Okay.
So that like mobilized Gen Z, and like you saw in Wisconsin when they voted out the Supreme Court. The Wisconsin Supreme Court or whatever, like they voted like overwhelmingly against the Republicans in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, a gerrymandered to shit red state. And it's just like the numbers of Gen Zers out there. It was overwhelming. And like you saw the same thing. I think it was Tennessee, the one that expelled their.
They expelled 3 of their representatives.
No, they expelled 2 of them. The third one stayed in by 1 vote. The one that wasn't a black man. was the one that got the one Republican to vote to keep her in. So yeah, and like you saw like the that ended up having like this big Streisand effect where like now everybody, like, they turned what would have been just like a local paper coverage story of this protest that happened in the House of Representatives into a national news item that has like it's helped to fire up the Gen Z base. And like JASA said they voted Trump in I assume from what JASA said that they voted Trump in 2016, and now regrets it. And like after seeing what Trump has done and after seeing what has happened under Republican rule, and so now like it's like never again. And like these are kids who grew up being afraid of going to school because like they need to have like bulletproof linings in their backpacks, and they're doing active shooter drills, and they see that the Republicans, anytime there is a shooting, they say, well, what are we gonna do? The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. Never mind that it also says well regulated. It shall not be infringed. And like, I don't know if you've seen the Jon Stewart clip about that, where he's like, well, what about the First Amendment? Like, would is registering to vote an infringement of the right to vote?
I would say that it is.
Well, the guy, that's the thing, is like the guy went off on how registering your firearms would be an infringement of the Second Amendment, and so he was like,
but registering to vote is perfectly okay.
Yeah, and then so Jon Stewart asked him like, okay, well, would you consider voting to be a right? And he's like, yeah, for citizens. I'm like, okay, so what do you have to do to vote? And you saw he tried so fucking hard to avoid saying the word register, because you have to register to vote. And so it's like, is that an infringement on your right to vote? Yeah, kinda, but like, it's a reasonable infringement.
Yeah.
And like, it's a well-regulated infringement.
Yeah, because technically, it is technically an infringement on the second to try to make it to where there's any barrier to having a firearm in the United States, as far as most people are concerned. But here's the thing. I'm very tired of people hiding behind the United States Constitution as if it's some kind of Bible in and of itself.
Yeah, no, it's not an infallible document.
Like I get tired to the point of getting sick, because when somebody's like, that's unconstitutional.
I think you should look up that Jon Stewart video, because like that's one of the things that he kind of brings up is like, okay, well, if you're going to defend it on the grounds of like it's just in the Constitution, then just be honest about the fact that you are willing to like increase chaos in the United States in order to protect the Constitution as it is laid out now. Like, don't try and pretend like guns are a good thing, like guns are going to solve problems, like guns are going to create order and make things easier for law enforcement or lower crime rates. Don't pretend all that shit, because it's fake, it's false, it's just wrong. The statistics bear that out time and time again. It's just wrong. So just argue on the grounds that it's in the Constitution, and that's your argument. That's the entirety of your argument, because anything else is just window dressing that amounts to lies.
It's lies plus.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the tweets. I hid the tweets because we went off topic. But we are talking about, you know what? It is on topic, because she says, if we make guns illegal, no one will ever be killed. That's how we stop the people from doing drugs. So what I hear Bridget Gabriel saying here is that she is okay with similar regulations on guns as there are on drugs. Either that, or she wants to decriminalize all the drugs. I support both those things. People who are addicted to drugs don't need to go to jail. They need rehab. They need help.
And I mean, this is one of the reasons why in California, right? In California, it used to be a felony to knowingly transmit HIV to another individual. That was considered a felony. They dropped it from a felony to a misdemeanor a couple of years ago, and everybody freaked out about it, saying like, oh my God, why is it not a felony to knowingly give somebody HIV? It's like, because people's workaround for it was to never get tested, because the law said to knowingly transmit. When they dropped it to a misdemeanor, the rates of HIV transference in California actually managed to drop because it became safer to go and get tested.
Yeah.
A lot of people will not get themselves put into any type of rehabilitation for hard drugs because they're worried about going to jail.
My partner says just because someone doesn't believe in the research doesn't make that research any less true.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends I had an argument with about the ways that we handle things for trans kids, right? Like the medical procedures we use, the ages at which they are appropriate.
Oh.
I went into like what the data says about that, and they were like, no, I don't agree with that. I think the body should do its natural thing. And I'm like, I don't agree with you, and I listen to the scientists, not you.
Well, that's the same
Funny
thing.
that.
Like I've been making that argument about trans rights too. Is that like it's very amusing to me that the people that are like very virulently anti-trans, they like anytime you bring all this scientific data that we have to the table, they will always have objections that are very generalized. They will not be able to pick apart any specific study, but like it's always like, oh well, those researchers are probably pro-trans, or the journals won't publish anything that comes to anti-trans conclusions. It's very similar to creationists and how they justify the fact that science agrees that evolution is a thing. Anyway, Lou Billar says, I'm Australian. I think most Americans would have an aneurysm if they knew it's compulsory for us to vote. We can be fined if we don't. I've actually advocated for that in the past. I agree that voting should be mandatory for everybody. Like you should be automatically registered to vote when you like pay your taxes, I guess, like file your tax return. That should just automatically register you to vote, and it should be mandatory. Now, the caveat with that is that with how hard it has been made to vote in some areas, like that just doesn't fly. Like if it's mandatory to vote, it also has to be easy to vote. So like you get a paid day off work, or you get to vote by mail, or like just any sort of accommodation to make it easy for people that are of lesser means to be able to vote. Because that's the one argument against making voting compulsory, is that like that's going to be weaponized against poor people, because you know it's so hard to vote if they can't afford to take the time off work. Now they have to pay a fine for not being able to afford to take the time off work. It's like, okay, so give them paid time off to go vote. And like mandatory paid time off, make it a public holiday where everybody gets a full day's pay and doesn't have to work on voting day.
It's one of those things where the argument that I hear all the time is like, well, if it's compulsory, it like they usually try to say something like, if it's compulsory, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, I don't give a shit about what it means.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't give a fuck.
Republicans will never want it to be compulsory to vote, because when voter turnout is high, Republicans lose. That's just a fact of how American voting works. Savage Cobra Kinda Official says, I'm wrong because the researchers have ethics, not the flex you think it is. Yep.
Yep. Or like there's this one like person who orbits my channel, who he comments on almost every other tweet. I'm not gonna say his name because then he'll get a hard on for being recognized. But his usual go-to is like, oh, and you believe that those experts are telling the truth? And I'm like, I mean, I believe if they lied that it would be caught in peer review.
Yeah.
like that's where I'm at right now. Like I don't have to believe the initial person who wrote the initial paper, but the 270 citations of this paper are public knowledge, and I can look through those.
Cute Dark Art says, screw taxes, I have tentacles. I love the name Cute Dark Arts, is the main reason I wanted to highlight that.
Get that person out of your chat. They are not to be trusted.
You know them? If you don't trust them, then I have all the more reason to like them. All of Cirrus's audience that Cirrus puts down, you guys are welcome on my channel. I love you guys.
Damn it.
You guys are the best. You give me so much joy when you draw pornographic fan art and make Cirrus say ooh. It's amazing. Hey, will you say ooh if someone makes the MAGA guy fall off his bike?
Yeah, I'm doing for you.
Okay, so if you guys give a super chat or tip through the link that the bot spams in chat, I think, of $50 or higher. I'm pretty sure there will be a video of a MAGA guy falling off his bike. If it doesn't show up with the super chat thing, I can make it happen automatically, or like I can make it happen on my end. But then Cirrus will say ooh ooh. But someone has to send the money in order to make the thing happen.
That's all just a ploy.
It's
all just a ploy for money.
Yeah. I'm a shill. What can I say? I still have my one stock of Pfizer that I bought specifically so that I could wait for the 1 penny dividend that they gave me, so that I could take a screenshot of that and be like, oh yeah, everybody was right. I'm on the Pfizer payroll. Look how much they're paying me to shill their vaccine.
Oh my God.
And I still have that one stock, and I've like maybe made 5 cents on dividends on it by now.
You can show that you're definitely getting paid. Like I can be that guy who, because of Twitch, I could just be like, you're right, I do this for the money. Jeff Bezos cuts me a check every month. It's
through your Amazon affiliate links.
Through my no, it just in general, because Twitch is owned by Amazon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Twitch is owned by Amazon. I'd be like, I get paid by Bezos. I get paid from Google. I get paid by the big guys. They don't pay me a whole lot, though. I mean, really, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I know Google. Nobody from Google is ever going to watch the stream, but they need to get their fucking act together when it comes to security. Like,
yeah,
fuck them up the ass. Like when you got your channel stolen, that was 2 years ago. People are still having that same fucking issue. They've known about it for at least 2 years.
Yep.
And people are still having, like, Jimmy Snow just lost all of his channels this week, and he's getting them back, but he's not Linus Tech Tips. He doesn't have the direct line to higher ups at YouTube that can fix it immediately at 3 a.m. He had to wait for them to respond to his emails. So like he's lost several days of revenue at this point. And like for the smaller channels, that hurts a lot more than the bigger channels. And and it's ridiculous because like it's such an easy solution. Like I can tell you how to solve the problem right now. The same way my fucking bank solves the problem. Sign people out automatically after a set time period. And I imagine it wouldn't be that hard to implement a system where you could allow people to choose the time period. So like if you're just a user of YouTube and you don't actually make your living through YouTube, and it doesn't, if somebody steals your session, like what are they going to do? Mess up your browse history? Who fucking cares? I mean, like obviously it's more of a concern than just that, but like it's different for someone who just uses it to watch YouTube versus someone who makes their living off of YouTube. So like someone that just watches YouTube with the account, sure, maybe they want to stay logged in permanently, and token session, whatever it's called, session hijacking is not that big of a concern to them. So keep me logged in permanently. Fine, make that an option. But then allow there to be an option for creators where it's like, okay, once every 24 hours, invalidate all sessions. Like, it's not that hard to implement. My bank can do it. My tax software can do it. My fucking video game provider can do it. Like, why is the service that I play my video games through more secure than my fucking job?
Because it would be so inconvenient for them if they were to make the largest video platform of all time secure for the people who make them their money. That would be very inconvenient. Why would you ever secure your assets as a business?
I don't know. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway, Britt says, men, please help me out here. This blew my mind when I heard it, and I have zero idea if it's true. Does every male interaction with another male come with a threat of violence, no matter how small? Like, even with friends and family, there's always a slight chance of violence? I have heard people say this before, so I'm not necessarily saying Britt is a twit for having tweeted this, because, like, I can definitely see, like, if somebody hears that for the first time, be like, is that really true, sort of thing? So, like, this isn't a dunk on Britt for this.
There's definitely that, like, that subset of people who give way too much of a shit about their own machismo.
Yeah, like I'm sure there are men for whom this is true.
Yeah.
For me, I have never, like, our interaction now, I have no worry about it ever getting violent.
I mean, I'm a little too far away for it to be effective in any case.
Yeah, but, like, even if
But
we were
like,
like face to face, whatever. It was like
but
I
like,
can
you know, when I
chat
was
with
when I
another.
was up in like when I was up in New York, if I had just been like, fuck it, I'm gonna drive another, couple hours north, and we're gonna do the show at Rhino's house. Like, if I were to do that, then it wouldn't come with any higher threat of violence than anything else, I don't think.
Yeah, so if I were concerned about a threat of violence, like I'm not a guy who will win fights. That's just like, no, I'm not going to win a fight if I'm in a fight.
Yeah.
So like if there's a threat of violence, I'm going to be hyper aware of that and trying to avoid it at all costs. I have a history of like chasing around conservative people that I've worked with after they found out that my toenails are painted, and I realized that kind of freaks them out. Like I chased him around the rest of the shift and was like, my nails are still painted. I still got rainbow toenails down there. And like if I was concerned about a threat of like he absolutely could have beat the shit out of me. Like I wasn't worried about that. I was just having fun bothering someone who has this like weird toxic masculinity thing of men don't paint their nails, so I'm gonna like avoid the guy who has his nails painted right now because I like the gay might rub off on me or something. I don't even know what the fuck he was worried about.
I mean, to be honest, I think there are a few gays who might want to rub off on you, but that's besides the point.
No, I I actually so I do occasionally engage in some mild online flirtation. And the majority of it is with gay men because they are the ones who initiate the flirtation with me more.
Fair enough.
And it's like, okay, I'll flirt back.
There you are. You're wondering how you got here. But no, I don't. I do agree that like just kind of seeing this, looking at this tweet alone, there are some people for which this is probably true enough that this could be a stereotype. Because like that's the thing with all stereotypes. No stereotype is true of all groups. No, like none of them are.
Well, so this is the thing about toxic masculinity is because this is the exact kind of thing that people are referring to when they say that like toxic masculinity isn't just about the fact that men are toxic towards women. It's also like toxic masculinity is harmful to men as well. Mm-hmm. It's like there was a study, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember the details, but like there was a study done where like they had a bunch of guys play The Sims. Well, they had a bunch of people play The Sims, and then they put them in a room at the end of the thing, and like as they entered the room, they would ask them to like describe to the rest of the room, like, what did you do while you played The Sims? And the men, when there were other men in the room, like it's a mixed room, so there were women there too, but like as long as they weren't the first one in, when they got in there, they would like what they actually did in The Sims was stuff like redecorate the house. But then when they entered the room and saw the other men there, they're like, oh yeah, I did that thing where you trap someone in the swimming pool and you take the ladder out and wait till they drown. But like they didn't do that. So like these are men who had a legitimately good time redecorating a house in their simulation game. But because that's not something manly, they need to like macho it up and like, oh, this is a stupid girly game, so I turned it. I had to make it violent. Manly. I had to make it violent in order to be satisfied, so I killed someone in a swimming pool. Like,
yeah, like just admit
like
that when you played Animal Crossing, you had a good time.
Yeah, like the guys who did that, like, and it was a fairly universal thing where like most guys did peaceful, just fun little activities like that, but then lied about it to make it seem more violent and vile and toxically masculine when they were in the group. Like, do you think they would have maybe had a better time with the other people in that group if they could all be their honest, authentic selves?
Yeah.
Like, it's the toxic masculinity that stops that. So like if like that's what we mean when we say that it's harmful to men as well. It stops you from being able to be your true authentic self. And really, in my mind, there is nothing more masculine than just being able to be yourself as a man without worrying what society thinks of you. But also, like, that can be a feminine thing too. Like, that's not exclusively like I don't know. Masculine and feminine are weird concepts in general in my mind.
The idea that there are certain behaviors that are like necessarily essentialist and
Yeah.
attached to a certain group. Like, oh, if I want to play Monster Hunter with a guy, I have to talk about how they get to carve out the innards of a monster and then wear its bones on their shoulders. But if I want to talk about that game with a girl, I have to talk about the fact that, oh, look at this lovely kimono you can make out of the bones and innards of the monster you carved. But we don't talk about that part. Like the idea that that's even a thought, and I know that there's some marketing team that has had those exact two thoughts of how to market to those groups.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we even have to do that is strange. When, like, just with that game alone, anytime I've introduced that game to somebody, they're like, yeah, this is fucking fun. Let's go kill shit.
Darren Marsh says DIY is a classic manly pursuit. So yeah, I guess like redecorating the house is like if doing it yourself as opposed to hiring someone is a classic manly pursuit. But then I also.
What if it's manly and needs to be with chainsaws?
So I've told enough stories about times when I have done DIY projects around the house that now my partner has forbidden me from not hiring contractors to do stuff for me.
The original purpose of my subathon was going to be to rebuild my kitchen because I didn't do it correctly the first time, and then lo and behold, the friend of mine who has done contracting work, who was going to help with it, got into a car accident. That's where I was before coming here. Had his leg shattered, so now he can no longer do that kind of work. Even when he fully heals, he still's not going to be able to do that kind of work because it's past that point.
Cirrus,
yeah,
I never want you to recommend anyone to do work for me again. It's like it's been a week. It's been a week, and your editor had his computer crash and his assistant quit, and now your contractor has shattered both his legs in a car accident. Fuck, stay away from me, Cirrus. Don't recommend anyone to me.
Terrible things are gonna happen to them. They're all jinxed.
I don't believe in jinxes or curses, but you might convince me otherwise.
But because of that, I'm like, oh, so I guess the subathon money's not going to be able to go to those repairs because I'm not doing it on my own because I know what happened the last time I did it on my own. It didn't. It needs to be done again because I'm not a professional.
Well, see, and here's another thing that I kind of like about the guy that was here today is like we've had two people come out to give us quotes, and the first person was like, no, this is going to be super expensive because we're just going to go to the store and buy the stuff at full price and not bargain shop for you or whatever. Whereas this guy was like, he's looking at the kitchen, he's listening to us saying what we want to do with the kitchen, and like he kind of knows what our budget is. We lowballed it, of course. We're like, okay, well we'll tell him significantly less than what we actually have available in the budget to see what he comes up with, and then we can be like, okay, well we can go over budget, I suppose, on these things or whatever. Typical negotiation tactics that I'm actually not. This is my partner. She's good at the negotiation stuff, and this is like, that's typically a male job. So like I'm just sitting back and like letting her do the negotiating because I'm bad at it. I'd just be like, no, we have this amount of money. But yeah, anyway, so like when we were telling him everything we wanted to do, and he gets the, like he knows it's going to be fairly close budget wise. It's like, well, would you be okay doing the demolition yourself? I'm like, yeah, because that would save a bunch of man hours, wouldn't it? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can smash things. It's like right now, like my kitchen, like all the counters are tiles, and I'm sure they look good when they were new, but like, tiles have grout in between them, and if you don't clean the grout perfectly every day for the entire lifespan of the tiles, and these tiles were probably installed, like judging by the style, probably like 60s, 70s, somewhere in there. And if you don't clean them perfectly every single day, eventually that grout turns black, and it looks gross, and it does not feel like it's sanitary to do things on that counter.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just want a proper counter. I can smash the tiles.
I've never considered having a tile counter, and I don't think I'm ever going, like a tile backsplash is about as far as I would go.
Yeah.
But like but if the area I prepare food has anything porous at all,
yeah,
which that grout is,
yeah,
I do not feel comfortable with that being where my food goes, because like I don't even like using wooden cutting boards. because things like to linger in those.
Yeah. Robert Adset says Rhino smash. Because I can smash things. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. You know how frequently I spray 99% rubbing alcohol all over the fucking kitchen because, like, it's like it might still be dirty, but at least it's sterile now. Nothing survives alcohol. Anyway.
Jesus.
I take it you don't like my alcohol solution?
Look, I know the smell of a lot of rubbing alcohol.
Yes, it
and
does
when
not
you
smell
splash
pleasant.
when you splash it everywhere, it's that smell but more. And I don't like bad smells but more.
I have it in a spray bottle. So I just like all over the counter.
Oh, so it's already a fine mist.
Yes.
I
do put on when I do the whole kitchen like that. I do put on like the vent hood fans and open windows and shit because it's 99% rubbing alcohol. You don't play with that shit. It can make you go blind.
Yeah, 99% reminds me I need to actually get some 99% for computer repair stuff.
That's what I have it for. But then I spray it in the kitchen. Limited Light says, did Dr. Todd Grande's recent Bud Light videos cross a line? Like, I don't know. I don't know who Todd Grande is, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is either.
DC Drano says, Fox is apparently settling with Dominion for over $787 million. Not enough, in my opinion. Leftists are celebrating. Most of what I've seen from leftists is them saying it's not enough in their opinion. Good, enjoy your day, but just know that the legal precedent has now been set. Okay, so when CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NPR, etc. lie about conservative companies, there will be 787 million going the other way.
Cool.
Okay, this is one of those things where, like, I am not loyal to any of these news organizations. Like, sometimes CNN does good reporting. Other times, CNN does shit reporting. NPR is usually pretty good. They're usually pretty good at presenting unbiased stuff. Like, you can find shit articles on them as well. MSNBC is basically liberal Fox News, but they usually stick to true things. Like, they'll exaggerate and use hyperbole and stuff, but like, generally what they're saying is true. But like, if I see a news article that I want to cover and it's like there are two news sources that I can find it on are MSNBC and like CBC, I will go with CBC 100% of the time because MSNBC is being incendiary and is being Fox News about it.
It's like, what was that button? There was a button that was like, you press this button, a Republican politician goes to jail. And then, like, as they were about to press it, they go, but if there's a guilty Democrat, they go to jail too. And the person just like starts pressing the button repeatedly.
Just smash that button over and over. Yeah.
Panic going like, wait, you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
I don't think you understand how this works.
Yeah, no. So if a Democrat wins the election, if a Democrat loses an election and they start a fucking coup in the Capitol and the news organizations lie to encourage the coup, yes, they should be held accountable, even if they are a news organization that I would generally agree with. It's like, do you remember Al Franken?
I don't actually.
Okay, so he was a Democrat, and he actually, like, he did some really good shit. He was kind of like the Katie Porter of the time that he was in office. Like, not to the same degree and not same thing, but like, he did some amazing shit. But then pictures surfaced of he was I think it was a woman in the Navy who was asleep, and he was like hovering over her pretending to grab her boobs while she was asleep, and that picture came to light, and he resigned in disgrace because of that picture while giving an apology, because the Democrats actually kind of hold their own to account. Like, if there was a Democrat version of MTG, they would have been expelled by now. Because Democrats don't tolerate that shit. I mean, not to the same degree. Like, obviously there's a bit of like the good old boys club or whatever going on in either party, but like, the Republicans will ignore everything for the sake of getting the R number to be higher, whereas the Democrats will be like, no, if this guy legitimately needs to be kicked out, we'll kick him out. So like Al Franken got kicked out of Congress for having a picture surface from before his time as a politician. This is when he was a traveling comedian. So like before he was even a politician, a picture surfaced when he was like not actually sexually assaulting anyone, but miming sexual assault. And that got him kicked out of Congress. Meanwhile, the president of the United States, because he had the R beside his name, was able to brag about actually sexually assaulting people and then get elected after that.
That was just like one of the people who was going to be running against Marjorie Taylor Green in my district, Brittany Tenenbaum. She got taken out. Like the Democratic Party in this district pulled support from her because they found out she had done burlesque.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I had a whole interview with her on my channel talking about it after that happened. And I was just like, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah. So John73, John is saying, I thought Al Franken resigned voluntarily. He wasn't kicked out. Yes, he resigned voluntarily, but it was like he was pressured to, like there was pressure for him to resign. It's
just like what happened with Brittany. Like Brittany could have kept running, but she would not have been the one that the Democrats threw support behind. Because like the Democrats here threw most of their support behind Marcus Flowers. That was where most of their support went. Like it was Marcus and Holly, and then nobody knew who else was there. Really, most people only knew that Marcus existed in terms of like competition for Marjorie. Like you could still run. Nobody's going to stop you, but you're not going to have the actual political machine at your back. And when you're running without the political machine at your back, guess what? You don't win.
Yeah. So he wasn't actively kicked out, but there was a definite tacit, we're not going to endorse you when you run for re-election and you should resign sort of thing.
Yeah.
My point is that minor infractions are enough to get Democrats to resign or get kicked out or whatever. Meanwhile, the Republicans will just turn a blind eye to anything as long as they have the R beside their name.
And that is usually...
My point is, if CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and NPR are actively lying, like not just being mistaken about things, because it's one thing to be mistaken, it's another thing to actively lie about it. So if they're actively lying about shit, specifically to push a political agenda, then yeah, they should be held to account. News organizations should not be allowed to attack people or companies maliciously the way Fox did with Dominion.
Well, especially with when we got all of that information from Fox pulled because of the lawsuit and found that like half the time they didn't even believe the shit they were saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, definitely hit them in their wallet.
If all of their text messages have been like, yeah, no, we actually do legitimately believe this, then they would have had a much better case. They might have actually gone to court and they might have actually won, because part of the defamation suit is you have to show that they actually like knew that they were lying about it. Like there had to be the malicious intent. It's not just I was mistaken. Like as if you're mistaken, you just issue the retraction when you're corrected. Anyway, next up we get MTG.
No.
We have food critics that criticize restaurants, consumer reports that criticize products, auto critics that criticize automobiles, and conservative Americans have just wrapped up a week of nuking a beer company, but you can't criticize a voting machine company or you'll get sued for millions and millions of dollars.
It's not that you can't criticize a voting machine company, it's that you cannot lie about it.
So here's the thing, though, is that I think she actually makes a decent point here that she wasn't intending to make. So like the beer company thing, people have been lying about that, but Bud Light will not be able to sue them for it because they are probably honestly mistaken because they've just fallen for, the typical conservative tropes.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you can criticize this company from a conservative standpoint for endorsing a liberal thing, and you've got no danger of suffering any harm for that. They're not going to sue you for that. They're not going to sue Kid Rock for shooting up their fucking cases of beer. They're not going to sue that guy in the grocery store that pulled a bunch of their bottles off the shelves and smashed them in the store. It's when you are a major news organization and you are actively spreading what you know to be false information about a company that you can be sued. I mean, I guess they could sue like ordinary citizens that did the same thing, but like there comes a point where it's like it's not really worth it. Like you have
What
to
are they
show
gonna
actual
gain at that
damages.
point?
Yeah, like you have to show actual. Like I have an actual platform, but if I made a completely defamatory video about a specific company, I would have such a small effect on that company that it wouldn't matter. They wouldn't bother suing me because it wouldn't be worth the money they'd have to pay the lawyers to file the paperwork.
They'd lose money in the transaction, even winning.
Yeah, so like I could defame all the companies I wanted that are along the same sizes as like Dominion and Bud Light or whatever, Anheuser-Busch. But like, and I would suffer no repercussions from that. Like, that doesn't mean I couldn't suffer repercussions from that. They probably could sue me, and they could probably win if I were to actually defame them. But like, I wouldn't be worth going after because I don't have the money to settle. So it's like, I'm not sure what point I was making with that anymore. That sentence kind of got away from me.
I just found a tweet that scares me.
Yeah.
And it's not this one. I mean, this one, it's Marjorie Taylor Green. Everything out of her mouth scares me.
Wait, I have another one from her. Is it this one?
No, not her again.
Is it the one where she says that Donald Trump invented America first?
There are Dr. Seuss comics about America first.
Wait, what's it? Who was it? Someone. Successful, strong America first policies are what Georgians want. There's no other choice in these trying times other than President Trump, who invented America first policies and proved their success during his 4 years of being president of the U.S. I feel like the guys who literally went to war in 1776 to put America first ahead of the rest of the British Empire would maybe be the ones that invented America first. Or maybe the First Nations that tried to fight them off in the first place.
But if we're talking about America first as a political position, the America first political position has existed for about, I want to say, at this point, 80 or 90 years.
Since World War One.
Yeah, because like Dr. Seuss was very, very critical of America first policies and literally just likened them to being Nazi policies because they were pushed forward by the American brown shirts. Like the people who agreed with these stances on eugenics, these stances on imperialism, these stances on, like just anti-gay policies. The people who agreed with that were the people who were pushing for America first policies. And they were the ones who also didn't want us intervening in World War II. Like,
yeah,
America first is a very old set of policies, and it almost always wraps itself up to look, sound, and feel like Nazism.
Well, I actually just saw a tweet thread today that it was going over how, like, in Nazi Germany, like, everybody's like, oh, well, no, you're talking about transgenocide. Like, that's hyperbolic. It's exaggerating.
No,
it's not actually genocide.
It's what happened in Nazi Germany.
No, that's what like, if you look at how it progressed in Nazi Germany, it started with calling gay people, like anyone queer, gay people, trans people, anyone that was part of the LGBTQ community, by like calling them essentially groomers. Like they're threatening the children.
That's why the book burnings happened in Nazi Germany.
No, they burned the books of the Institute of Sexology, which pioneered sexual reassignment surgery. And like they like all the documentation they had for it, all the progress they had made that was recorded in these books, those were the first books to go in the Night of the Long Knives. That's where they were burning the books. So,
but don't worry,
like,
it's the liberals who are the Nazis.
Yeah. All right, I'm not sure exactly what conversation is going on in the chat, but Scott Dillahunt says, and Henry Ford. So yeah, if we're talking about like Nazis and America first and shit, like, yeah, Henry Ford was very much like America first, anti-Semitic.
I mean, he wrote what was the treatise he wrote? The Problem of the American Jew. I think
the International Jew. The International
Jew.
Yeah. And he cited the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which was actually like Russian propaganda against Jews meant to encourage pogroms.
It's like what was his name? Do you remember the YouTuber, the Golden One?
I I am passingly familiar with the golden one.
So he had this whole video, basically just like it was Hitler apology is what it was, because
Yeah.
he went like, no, actually, Hitler was not trying to fight Jewish people. That's a misconception. He was trying to fight international Jewry, which is the real evil. And I'm like, my guy, you said the same thing twice. Because none of those words mean a whole lot outside of the context of the other. But sure, when you say international Jewry, who happens to be the people who are, quote, doing that? Jewish people. Okay, cool. So we're not moving very far. We haven't moved the goalpost very far. You just used flowery language.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm not. It's like when Michael Knowles does the whole, trans ideology
Oh
needs
yeah,
to
yeah.
be eliminated.
I'm not saying to eradicate trans people. I'm saying to eradicate trans ideology.
How would you eradicate trans ideology without getting rid of all of the trans people? Like if I said we need to eradicate Christian ideology, okay, how would you do that? Because a certain amount of Christians might deconvert from their religion, sure. The rest of them, who won't? What do you do? What are the logical next steps? There's only really one that you can take, and it's not a pleasant one, and it's why we don't do that.
No, I'm actually on record several times, and the video that I don't know. My videos are kind of a blur right now because I'm in the middle of two of them because because of the editing kerfuffle. But yeah, one of the two videos that I'm working on now, I actually make a point of saying that, like, oh well, if like one of the guys comes out and is like, well, without Christianity, murder should be a good thing. Everybody should be happy to murder because then the strongest are murdering the weaker people and everything. It's like, okay, you know what? If being a Christian stops you from murdering people, I am perfectly happy with you remaining Christian. Like, if you need Christianity to follow a code of ethics, stay Christian. I'm not trying to deconvert you.
Yeah,
I just want people to live their best lives.
If the only thing between you and murdering people is, that book, then sure, keep that book there. If that's what you need, I'd rather you not kill people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but atheists can't justify not killing people because we don't have an absolute moral whatever to appeal to.
People don't want to be murdered, so I don't murder people.
Well, that's the thing about the thing about morality. Okay. What I find most, so this is in the video that I've not recorded yet. So this is not the one that's coming out this Friday. This will be next Friday. It's another Pastor Dickey one. So he talks about he quotes C.S. Lewis when C.S. Lewis basically makes an argument from consequences, which is like atheists can't justify their morality, or like without appealing to something supernatural, they're like the moral ought cannot exist, basically. And it's like, well, there are atheists that disagree with that. I don't think moral oughts do exist. I think that morality is entirely subjective. Yeah, we can have shared goals from which we can objectively measure whether or not things are right or wrong. But like, the fact of the matter is that our moral codes have been programmed by hundreds of thousands to millions of years of evolution. It's not the most comfortable thought in the world. I would like it if there was like an absolute moral code that could actually tell us what is like really right and really wrong. That is appealing to me, but unfortunately that's not like what is appealing is not necessarily true. Like that's not the way the world works. That's not how we determine truth. And that's not what appears to be the case. So what I would prefer to do is to like take a more pragmatic approach. But like realistically, most people are just flying by the seat of their pants. They're not considering moral ethics every time they make moral decisions. They are just doing what feels right to them. And that is imparted by a little tiny bit of biology, but mostly culture.
Human beings exist. That's pretty much the only thing I can say at this point.
Scott Dillahunt is talking about the moral otter.
on the otter hand,
the otter hand
does exist and is very cute.
Yes, otters are adorable. I actually
moral oral exists.
So in my set, I gave a tour of it in one of the shorts. I think I might have changed it up a bit since then. But in my various piles of books, there's a trilogy. I forget what it's called. It's like the Three Rings or something like that. It's a book that I got in Scotland that is like a true story of this guy who bought like a property in Scotland, and there were otters that lived on the property, and it's like this very cute and touching tale of how he like befriended these otters, and he like plays with them and feeds them and interacts with them and stuff like that. But then like it starts getting to the point where it's like, oh, you know that all these otters are going to die by the end of the third book. And like, I haven't finished reading it because like, I don't want the otters to die. I just want them to live and be cute forever. So I'm just going to stop reading here.
If you never finish the book,
if I never finish the book, they're fine. They're fine. The otters are still good.
Oy. Speaking of, I'm more than halfway through the book series I'm reading right now, and I'm going to be sad when I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't started any books. I actually, when I was away for the weekend, we went to a used book shop that they had in Markdale, and there were a couple interesting books there. That they had a Richard Dawkins book there.
Which one?
I think it was The Greatest Show on Earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But like, and that was in the religion section, and there were all the typical religious books there as well. Apologetics, and had some the Bhagavad Gita was there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting bookstore.
Okay.
So this was one of the things that I noticed about it. So Markdale is a pretty rural area. Like there's a lot of farmland. It's kind of middle of nowhere. Like it's not quite far enough away to be actually middle of nowhere, but it's like the closest store that's actually like a normal store is like a 45-minute drive north from there to like Owen Sound. So it's like just this tiny town, bunch of like mom and pop shops, like there's a Foodland grocery store. So like, yeah, that is a bit of a chain, but like for the most part, it's just mom and pop shops. And it was kind of great. But like areas like that, you expect them to be extremely conservative. But like we went there, and there's like everybody's still like wearing masks, and there's sanitizer stations on the way into the stores, and like even the guy that owned the bookstore, I could tell from a few things that he said that like he had some conservative leanings to him, but he also had a section of the bookstore dedicated to like, these books have been banned, so let's encourage people to read them, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like even the conservative areas of Ontario are still like even our conservatives are decent human beings, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
You certainly have something over Florida.
Yeah, that's like, it makes me feel incredibly grateful to be Canadian, because I can go to this like rural conservative area and it's like, oh, it's just like normal people. Like they might differ from me opinion wise on some matters, but they're just like normal people.
I have a friend of mine who works at a hardware store, tells me horror stories of some of the things that his other not other employees, but like other coworkers just are fine talking about on the clock. Just like, I don't know if I should speak or if I should just let them continue. I don't know what the safe move is.
Yeah. Anyway, we got Ben Shapiro says, over the past few months, my friend Matt Walsh blog has been threatened to the extent that he's had to have full-time security at his home to protect his family. Now he's been hacked. The tolerant and diverse kind crowd are celebrating, of course.
Yeah, okay, when terrible people have bad things happen to them, I don't get sad.
So here's the thing. I do not endorse threatening him or doing anything that requires him to hire security to protect himself from you guys. I don't endorse that, but like, I have not seen anyone celebrating that he's been threatened. I don't see anyone celebrating that he doesn't feel safe. What I see people celebrating is that someone hacked his account and is doing stupid shit with it.
I'm just like, what I want with the,
and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with having people that are shitty have their account stolen and they have some bad days about it. Like, I know Jimmy had his account stolen. Like, he's like, we're both friends with Jimmy. And like, he's had a rough couple of days. I know how hard that can be for someone.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy to have that happen to Matt Walsh, because it's like it is something that is extremely stressful, that is not actually harming, like it's not actually causing him physical harm.
Well, here's the difference there though. With Jimmy, there's a certain amount of money that comes out of the channel that he has to use to subsist off. That is not the case with Walsh.
Yeah, he's on
Walsh
the payroll of
makes
the Daily Wire.
He's on a payroll with the Daily Wire, and he makes over $50 million per contract, because we saw from the Steven Crowder contract that that's what Daily Wire will contract its people for. I personally don't care when bad things happen to Matt Walsh. When Matt Walsh stubs his toe, I giggle a little. Just the idea of Matt Walsh stubbing his toe,
Yep.
it puts a smile on my face, because if you are the type of person who makes a career out of calling for the genocide of a minority group, out of making life hell for a large percentage of the American population, because it's not just trans people, it's not just LGBTQ people that he makes things worse for. He also makes it worse for women. It makes it worse for anybody of any minority group.
Sorry, just to plug the books that I was reading. The book series is called The Ring of Bright Water. So I gave enough information that somebody was able to Google that, or they already knew it, because they are actually really good books. I just couldn't finish them because they were getting sad.
Fair enough. I just finished book 10 of the Dresden Files, and I have 7 more to go. And I'm going to be sad when I'm done with those 7.
Yeah.
But just when somebody's life goal is to not enrich the lives of others, but to make them worse, make them measurably less convenient, more harmful, more dangerous, when he's literally turned parents against their own children. Nah. I don't have an ounce of sympathy.
So it's not illegal to hope that a meteor crashes into his skull.
Correct. It's not illegal.
I'm not saying anyone should do anything to him, but I hope that a meteor crashes into his skull.
NASA. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, let's power through these, because I do gotta go.
Okay.
Did you know the decay of the Earth's magnetic? Okay, yeah, I picked some of these to just like kind of be silly, off topic. Did you know the decay of the Earth's magnetic field suggests that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old? The magnetic field is generated by the motion of the molten iron in the Earth's core, and its decay rate is consistent with a young Earth, but not with an old one. Fun fact: the decay rate is not a constant.
Fun fact: did you know that the half-life of lead says that the Earth is actually a lot older than that? But it's okay, Wendell.
Yeah.
You can pick your facts.
Yeah.
Uranium decayed, and now we know things.
Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah.
Oh, that was the last one.
This is the last one.
Let's get through these last ones. The last one.
You think I pay attention to how many tweets I pull out earlier?
The last one he told you not to worry about.
Anyway, I have videos about this if you're really interested. Yeah, I'm going to roll the credits now because I have to go. So thanks for joining me, Cirrus, even if you did miss the first few minutes due to shit.
Literally.
I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye, guys.